Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Sunday morning. What's going on around the world? Well, there's nobody better than we have with us General John Keane, and he was the vice chairman of the chief of staff of the United States Army from 1999 to 2003, and he is a national security analyst. Besides, well, Jack, what the heck is going on? I mean, where do we go first? Do you want to go to Venezuela and tell us how do we pull it off and not even lose one soldier, which was great news?
Yeah, well, a number of things. Certainly, we all saw a remarkable, brilliant operation that was flawlessly executed, and to achieve an end state like that, a couple of things had to come into play. One is we had exquisite intelligence, and that meant where Maduro would be precisely, and what time would be best to actually capture him. Obviously, we had options here. The right option was to try to capture him and extract him. We could have obviously blown the compound up, but it would not be the best option. The best option, obviously, was also the most dangerous. But we had a long flight from once we entered the coastline in a helicopter to get to the military base and then the compound that was on it. So a lot of planning had to go in to preventing identification of those helicopters and to prevent interception of those helicopters either heading to the target or certainly egressing from the target. For sure, everybody at that point would know what was happening. So what did the military do? They had to shut down the command and control, the ability of leaders to talk to subordinates. They shut down telecommunication antennas to communicate to one another. They shut down radar sites so they could not detect the aircraft that was approaching the coastline and then transiting inside of Venezuela. And then they had to make sure that there was no reaction, even if there was detection. So they hit selected Navy capability. They hit selected Army capability bases that had reaction forces, and they certainly they hit Air Force capability that could get fighters up and other aircraft to intercept. All of that was done very successfully, and then it enabled the intercept, the extraction force, that actually from the time they landed in the compound and actually got their hands on the Maduros, it was just a matter of minutes. But they had to kill someone in the neighborhood of over 30 Cubans who were protecting them. And that is where the Special Operating Force Delta and their very high skill sets come into place. I commanded Fort Bragg, and the Delta compound is on Fort Bragg. I'm very familiar with what these people can do. They maintain a low profile, no publicity. You never hear about them. But believe me, if they were running at a target and a target is running, they can hit somebody with 2 shots in the chest in a matter of seconds. If they have a protective vest on, they put it in the head, and they don't miss. They're extraordinary at what capabilities they have. They got the Maduros. They had a long flight out, and they had to make certain there was no intercept of those helicopters, which don't move at a very high speed by comparison to jets and bombers, and suppressing all of the forces that could react to that enabled success. So what am I talking about? Exquisite intelligence, imaginative, detailed planning, lots of preparation for what took place and significant rehearsals, and then flawless execution. And John, so our audience understands at the end of the day, despite all the technology we have and despite the advanced capabilities we have in fighters, bombers, electronic warfare, and helicopters, it always comes down to one thing: the quality of the people that are involved. And the United States military has the very best people in the world. They're all volunteers. They all want to do what is being asked of them, and thank God for them. They represent considerably less than 1% of the nation, and their devotion to protecting us and trying to get it right every single time is something we all need to admire.
Now, did some of the other dictators around the world that are bad guys, you think, I guess Cuba, did they have an old crap moment where they say, well, a lot of people are saying you're next? And is Iran, with all the problems going on over there, I think President Trump even said that you guys could be next. What do you think? Just your opinion.
There's no doubt about it. Yes, I totally agree with you. It has implications certainly beyond Venezuela. Listen, the beneficiaries are going to be the 28 million people eventually when they have free elections in Venezuela, and the 8 billion or so, John, that have left that country over Maduro's 14 years in power. Likely many of them will come back. But then the implication for the region itself, certainly Nicaragua, Cuba, Colombia, this sends a message to them. I suspect we will shut down Venezuelan oil going to Cuba, and it will likely force Cuba's collapse. I don't think we would have to do anything in terms of invading Cuba or taking it over. I think they're going to break down completely. Colombia, there's an election coming in May, and it's likely going to be the left of center radical party that's in now is going to be replaced by a right of center conservative party that President Trump is supporting. That's a good thing. Also, the Argentina, Bolivia, Chile, Ecuador, all moving in the right direction. We have sent a message in the Western Hemisphere that we are going to stop the poisoning of America through fentanyl and narcotic trafficking. We're going to stand up for the protection of our citizens. And if you're involved in a fraudulent election and deposing a Democratic government, then we're going to take an interest in that, just as President H.W. Bush did in 1989 in Panama when he removed the fraudulent person in Noriega, and just as President Clinton did in 1994 when a dictator replaced a Democratic elected president and did it by force and reinstalled the Democratic elected president by the name of Aristide. We have sent the message. And yes, is Iran getting this message? You bet they are. This is American military power being used on a very selected basis, just like we did in to deliver a decisive blow to destroy their nuclear enterprise on behalf of the Israelis. And that brought down an end to that conflict. The Iranians are on notice, and the president has told them, if you go into those streets and wantonly kill those citizens, we're going to hold you accountable. And if anybody doubts what he says after what took place with Maduro, then they are absolute fools and reckless. So I think we're having a positive impact inside of Iran. One, the demonstration is expanding because President Trump is behind the demonstrators, and that has never happened in the Biden administration or the Obama administration. And number two, he intends to hold the culprits accountable. So, yes, it is having impacts other places in the world for sure.
Now, so the good news is none of the protesters in Iran are being shot down in the streets like they did in previous years in Iran, did previous years in China. Let's go to the last stand. Russia. Putin, I talked to the president. He called into my show a couple weeks ago. And, Putin is being a pain in the rear end because he thought that he had a deal a few times over. And Putin still wants a better deal. At what point do we make a deal?
Yeah, very good question. Let me just say something that you said. There have been 36 people killed as of this morning on the streets in Iran in the 250-odd protests that are going on. They've arrested now close to 2,000. What they have selected to do, John, is arrest the people as opposed to shoot them wholesale on the streets. And believe me, once they arrest them, they will torture them, they will beat them, and they will execute some of them. So that is the tactic they're using, because none of that can get recorded. I know the Israeli intelligence services all over this, and so are we. It remains to be seen what actions we'll take. Going to Russia. Russia has been stalling for almost a year now to keep negotiations on the table while they continue to prosecute the war in a very brutal fashion. And I think the president, particularly, John, after Putin called him and said, the Ukrainians just attacked my residence with 91 drones. We at ISW, the think tank I chair, within hours of that, reported there was no signs of that. When the drones are used in any neighborhood in Moscow by Ukraine, the neighborhood social media lights up. For all the obvious reasons, they're not used to having this take place. Queries are being made. What is that? Did you see those drones? And then the air defense systems kicked in, and they're very easy to monitor. None of that happened. There was no destruction on the ground. There was no evidence of a drone, no destruction of damage. And then, after 48 hours, it leaked out of our own government that it was a complete fake news story. But Putin called the president and boldface lied to him. And you're right, the president is very frustrated with Putin. He is releasing, I am told, and this is making news, he is releasing and told Senator Graham to get his sanctions bill together and let's start moving it to double down on Russia in terms of economic sanctions and other people trying to buy their oil. And we need to upgun Ukraine also to give them additional weapons so they can do better against what Russia is doing to them. And it's not inevitable that Russia's going to win. That's another false narrative that the Russians put out. The truth is, in 4 years, Ukraine has stopped them from gaining any significant amount of territory. Have they made some small gains? Yes. 1%, John, in the last 2 years. 1% of additional territory, and they only occupy 20% of all of Ukraine. So I think it's time to get tougher with Putin. He hasn't demonstrated one time an ability to make any concessions whatsoever. And I think the president is just fed up with him.
General Jack Keane, thank you for everything you've done for our country and continue to speak out for our country. And let's catch up again real soon. And this will have a continuation in our new year of 2026.
Talking to you, John, and your audience. Thank you.
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.